Hey all, I thought I'd go over my complete frustration with the Canon Pro-100 B200 error, which I've been trying to figure out for the last several hours. I run a product design firm, so I rely on these printers to work nonstop. And this is an error that has completely frustrated me to the point where this is I'm ready to just take the whole thing apart if I have to. So for any of you who are here, it's probably because you got the B200 error, and the B200 error is some kind of vague technical problem that no one seems to quite know. There's some ideas online about how to reset the printer. Hold down the power button for 30 seconds when you unplug it. Keep holding it when you plug it back in. Hold the feed button. None of that has worked for me, and it's completely frustrating. It's an expensive printer, and having just a vague error that says, hey, send it out for repair is just completely unacceptable from Canon. Now, I'm a lifelong Canon fan. I run my business based on Canons, so this is the level of frustration I've gotten to. And one of the big frustrations was you'll run into the B200. Sometimes they say, oh, take the cartridges out, take the print head out. That could be a problem. And what you'll find is the cartridge, the print head is locked in place. And so you can't physically, with that B200 error, get it to the center to take the cartridges out. Full disclosure, I do not use Canon ink anymore. I haven't for 15 years now. I buy the Canon printer. I've never had an issue with aftermarket inks. They're much less expensive. We do a lot of prototyping here. Frankly, I can't afford to do Canon inks nonstop for tons of prototypes. But some people say, oh, if you put like a generic cartridge in here, it can cause issues. I've never had experience with that, but I've certainly had this error is completely frustrating. Happened a couple times already where the you'll know it because the power button and the feed button just start toggling back and forth. The whole printer shuts down, and in the past I've let it sit for an hour or two completely unplugged and plug it back in, and it starts working again. So to me it's a defect. It's a Canon problem. I don't know why it happens. It's completely disappointing when you're spending this much money, both the vagueness of this kind of error and the fact that that's even happening in a professional product that's $800 to $1,000 if you calculate all the ink. So let's get into the nitty gritty. All I'm doing here, I actually don't know how to solve it yet, but no one seemed to know how to unlock this print cartridge to get it over. So I wanted to walk someone through how to do that in case they're interested, and potentially without having to rip apart their entire printer like I did. So let's just go through it real quick. What I've done is if you go on a few online locations, all the silver you see that's on your Pro-100, that's all decorative. So you can literally just rip off all these panels nicely, or nicely is the ideal term with a screwdriver. You're going to pop some plastic rivets, but ultimately you can put these back in place later. But you rip off all the silver because that's completely decorative. And when you rip off all the silver, I'm just going to walk you through what you're going to find. When you rip off all the silver prettiness, you're going to end up with just a top black case. And I'm going to move these ink cartridges away right now for a second so I can tilt this up. If you then go around let me lift this up here, the sides of the product, you're going to see a bunch of these little notches, which you can pop open with a screwdriver. And you eventually kind of work your way around. And if you get enough of those notches, eventually the entire top case is going to lift off for you. And you're going to get exposed to the printer like this. At this point, I'm literally so disappointed in Canon. I could care if I break it at this point because it's going to cost me a bunch to get a new printer anyway. So, but that's all decorative. Then to get to releasing this is locked in place. What you need to do, and I'm going to get that down here. Hold on, I got to move my tripod. There is a gearing system right here. This gear, I'll point it to with my screwdriver. That gear. This gear is responsible for locking this in place and cleaning it. And what you need to do is basically get a long screwdriver and turn this in a direction, and you'll have to, it goes, you'll see in a second what it's doing. This is the wiper blade. And so one way, what you'll do, there you go. It's like a padlock, basically. Let me get in there and show you what I just did. Let me zoom in here. So what I'm doing is I'm inserting the screwdriver and turning this gear, and the gear, turn this here, the gear is actually releasing the lock. That's the lock right here that I'm pointing to, and this is the wiper system. And so they work in tandem. One way, just keep turning it here. All right, let's turn it this way. There you go. One way turns, this is the wiper, the ink wiping system, and it cleans. You'll see there's the lock having been pushed up, and then this pad is coming back up to the top, and that's what's locking your cartridge in place. And then if you keep going, you see the lock went back down, the wiper's cleaning. And so what you're trying to do is get in there and essentially turn the gear so that it's in the downward position. And so if you just go clockwise, so I'm in a clockwise position, eventually you'll rotate it so that the locking and the clearing is gone, and you'll release this. Now, could you have done that when the case was still on? Yes, I think you could have, and it would have saved me a ton of time if I'd understood it. So let's look at the case together. Let's just imagine for now, I know this looks a little gnarly, but it's just all plastic and decorative, so not that big a deal. If I had been so inclined, you can see this is the plastic case I put back on, and my goal is to get to the gearing system here. And it is adjacent to this cutout already, right? So if I had already known that it was there, what I would have done, I'm gonna grab a marker real quick for all of us. Is without unscrewing all of this stuff, I would have taken my Dremel and I would have cut out this section right here of plastic, which would have allowed you can see if I lift this up right now, there's the gear you need to get to, right? So if you had left your entire printer intact, peeled off the decorative silver side, so here's your decorative silver side, peeled that off, and then gone adjacent to this window and just cut with a Dremel and ripped out the plastic right here. It's all cosmetic. I mean, it's just plastic. You're not going to do any harm here. Cut that out. Once you cut that window out, obviously pull the window out, and you're going to be able, and then you're going to be able to reach in there because you've cut that window out and activate that gearing mechanism to release the print cartridge. So for anyone who's just in need, again, I Googled a ton of times to just how do you release the print cartridge with a B200 error, whether you're trying to send it back for repairs, get the print cartridges out, get the cartridge out, it will not release itself. So my recommendation, after you saw all this, take the one piece of side trim out, and all you do to do that is you slide your screwdriver under the side trim and just pop it up. It'll release, and it may break a little bit, some of the connections, but that's no big deal. You can always just place it back in or glue it. Release that one piece of side trim. Don't take out any screws. Don't release anything. Take out that one piece of trim. Come down here, cut yourself basically a square with your Dremel that is adjacent to this larger square right here. Pull the piece of plastic out, and you will expose the gearing. Stick your screwdriver in, push the gear clockwise until you basically hear it sort of working through and clicking off, and then you can be pulling on the print cartridge inside as you're doing this, because as soon as it releases, you'll know and you'll be able to pull it out. So I hope that helps anyone who wants to get that cartridge out without completely disassembling their Pro-100. Again, this B200 area this B200 error is a bunch of BS as far as I'm concerned. We are a decent sized engineering firm that relies on this printer, and the fact that I might have to go buy another one for some vague error that just shouldn't even be there is very disappointing. So big thumbs down for Canon, and big thumbs down for vague error codes that cause us to go through all this. But I hope that helps you, and carry on. Talk to you later.